7 common phrases that top leaders never say. Have you ever noticed that there is a language among leadership that they don't speak like normal people or ordinary people? Well, that's because their speech is very intentional. You notice that what you say and how you say it often creates how other people perceive you. If that's true every day, then in leadership contexts, this is even more amplified. So it's important that if you want to be perceived as a leader or with leadership potential, it's important that you avoid these 7 phases. The first phrase to avoid is to be honest with you. A variant of this phrase is to be frank with you. Now, it might seem like, well, this is innocuous. People say that all the time. But think about this, to be honest with you. If I was in a deep conversation with you and I was sharing my thoughts and my insights and my recommendation on the direction that we should be heading because we're on the same team, and then somewhere in the middle of my presentation, I say to you, to be honest with you, in that moment, subconsciously, you may not even realize it, there is a thought that you're being honest with me right now. Well, wait a minute. Does that mean that you were not honest with me before? Are you only beginning to be honest with me now? Well, what happened to the last 20 minutes of our conversation? So it's really important that if you say this phrase, what you're implying subconsciously, what you're implying without saying it is that, well, the honesty, the level of frankness of everything we've set up until now is called into question. So that is the first phrase to avoid as a leader, is to be honest with you. The second phrase to avoid is trust me. Think about this. Let's say you and I are in a negotiation and you don't see things from my perspective, but I'm trying to get you to see things from my perspective because I see that this is the solution that we should go down. And along the way, let's say that you're a little bit skeptical of what I'm presenting, and then I say to you, trust me. What does that cause in your mind? Chances are you're less trusting, you're more skeptical, you need proof. I get it. In leadership context, trust is important, and it's important to build trust. But you see, trust is built through a process. Trust is not built in a simple phrase by commanding the other person to trust you. It's a process to build trust. So the phrase, trust me, is kind of like this. If you are a content individual, you don't need to announce that to the world. You don't need to go around telling people, I'm so happy, I'm just so happy in my life is wonderful. The more you say that, the more people don't believe you. Because if you were content, if you were truly happy with the way that things are going in your life, you don't need to prove that to anyone because you know it for yourself. So that's the effect that it has. The same effect if you use the phrase, trust me. If you're a trustworthy individual, if you walk the talk, not just talk the talk, if you are consistent in your delivery and you operate out of integrity consistently, then you don't need to beg people or to command people or to instruct people to trust you. So that's the second phrase to avoid as a top leader, trust me. The third phrase to avoid is this one, sorry to bother you. Now, in customer service settings, and when it comes face-to-face with customers, with the public, we hear this very often. Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, sorry to bother you. And I get it, it's polite. It is, I don't want to intrude in your privacy, I don't want to interrupt your family time, or I don't want to disturb what you're doing right now, so then sorry to bother you. Yeah, I get it. But we're talking leadership context in a business environment. And in this dynamic, it's important that you come to the place where you have the presence, where you're not constantly needing to seek for permission. And it's become such a permission-driven society. I gotta ask for permission to do something. I need to ask for permission to take initiative. I need to ask for permission to say something, permission to speak, right? But if you want to be seen and heard, if you want to be noticed and recognized in a business context, it's important that instead of focusing on a permission-driven society, focus on becoming empowered within yourself. Focus on that governance. So the phrase, sorry to bother you, is a permission-driven phrase. And if you were to say, sorry to bother me, the effect that creates on the person you say it to will be like, well, if you're sorry to bother me, then don't bother me. Why are you bothering me then, if you're sorry for it? Right? You see, and that's not the effect you want to create. And then therefore, the conversation has a chance of starting out on the wrong foot. So that is the third phrase to avoid, sorry to bother you. The fourth phrase to avoid as a top leader is this one. Let me check and get back to you. Now, as a leader, it's impossible for you to know the answer to everything. In fact, no one person can know the answers to all questions that are out there. But as a leader, you are going to be visible. It's important for you to be really good at impromptu conversations in case your top leaders are asking you questions on the spot and there's a Q&A session, you're the one that's leading it right there on the spot. But it's true that there are going to be times where you're asked a question and everybody's listening and you don't quite know the answer to it. But the phrase, "let me check and I'll get back to you," conveys a lack of confidence. It conveys, what you're actually saying when you say, "well, let me check and get back to you," what you're actually saying is, "I haven't really thought about that. Let me think about this right now." And that doesn't convey confidence in your audience, in you as a leader. Because leadership is really thought leadership. It means you've thought things through thoroughly in advance. And you, in that practice, to developing your thought leadership so that no matter what questions they ask you, that you've thought about it in advance. So this is the fourth phrase to avoid, "let me check and get back to you." It might sound good, it might sound professional, it might sound humble, but the effect that it has is that, well, why, have you not thought about it? Have you never thought about this before? Why are you only thinking about this right now? You see, in leadership, they don't want to watch you think. They want to know that you've thought it through. The fifth phrase to avoid as a leader is this one: "I'm not sure. I'm not sure." In social context, with your friends and family, right? We act out of integrity. If our friends and family ask us a question that we don't really know, we're not really certain, then we can say, "well, I'm not sure. Well, I don't know, I'm not sure." And really, the phrase "I'm not sure" is to protect ourselves against liability, to protect ourselves against being blamed for telling them something that wasn't really accurate, right? It's really a self-protection mechanism, the phrase "I'm not sure." And I can get it. In a social setting, it's not as damaging. In terms of your thought leadership, in terms of your positioning, it's not as damaging. But you see, in a business setting, in a leadership context where you are the leader or you aspire to become one, that phrase does not give you the vote of confidence when you say, "I'm not sure." The reason why is because in business, if you want to get buy-in, if you want to negotiate, if you want to create trust and equity in relationships, which is important in business, then it's important that you convey certainty. Because getting buy-in is nothing more than sales, and sales is a transfer of certainty. So you say, "I'm not sure," you're not transferring a lot of certainty. So how do you avoid that phrase? Is to become certain in yourself, to become certain in your own thought leadership. The sixth phrase to avoid in top leadership positions is this one: "can I get your feedback?" Now, when you're starting out in your career path, or you're more junior in your role, it's okay to ask for feedback from your higher ups, from your manager, from your bosses. "Oh, can I get your feedback on this? Can I get your feedback on how I'm doing? Can you share with me feedback on my performance?" It's okay to ask that when you're more junior or when you're starting out. But you see, you're here, you're listening to this because you're either already a team leader, project leader, department leader, or you aspire to be one. And at some point in your career, when you've grown to a certain level in your organization, they're going to expect, your senior leaders are going to expect that you already know how you're doing. And if you don't know how you're doing and you need to ask for feedback, you can become a liability to the business if you don't really know how you're doing. If you're in a leadership position right now, or you aspire to be one, and you continue to ask your senior leaders, "how am I doing? Can I get feedback?" then you're conveying a message that you're unaware of yourself and you're unaware of how you're doing within the context of your environment. And that is a concern. How can they trust you to put you in more senior level positions if you don't know how you're doing? If you're not aware of the way you are in the context of other people or in the context of that environment. This is the phrase to avoid. "Can I get your feedback?" is something that needs to be obliterated from your vocabulary. The seventh phrase, this is the last one for top leaders to avoid, and it's this one: "I haven't heard back from you," or "I still haven't heard back from you." Now, in a business, the higher up you go, the busier it is. Now, busyness doesn't mean technical work, busy work. It doesn't mean that, because the more senior you are in your organization and your senior leadership team as well, their busyness, their productivity is not in implementation. Their busyness is in higher level strategy, in creating the vision, in laying down the strategic direction of departments and organization. That is the level of productivity we're talking about. So if you're in a leadership position, you're making important decisions for your department and for your teams, or you aspire to be in that role, and you're saying, well, I haven't heard back from you yet. Really what you're saying is, I don't understand why you're so busy. What you're really saying is that I don't understand why you're not conversing to me. And what you're actually demonstrating is somebody who's waiting for that other person's response, waiting passively, in brackets, for that other person to get back to you. But you see, leadership is not a passive spectator sport. It is an active position because you lead by your actions and through your actions. So that phrase, I haven't heard back from you yet, is a passive phrase. So that is the last phrase to avoid as a leader. If you're listening to this and you find that, some of these phrases are still in your vocabulary, and you're wondering, well, what do I say instead? How do I command my communication mastery? Well, then I invite you to work with me and my teams. Below this video, somewhere below here, there is a link for an opportunity to work with me and master your communications and master your executive presence, and more importantly, to master your executive intelligence. If you want some help with that, just click the link below, explore what I have to offer, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside.